Hey, Yuri, I don't see you though. Hey, we're
Yeah, I
live.
see you.
I don't see him either. That's okay. Let's see. Yeah, we have 0 viewers, so I think we're okay for a minute. Hey, Yuri, say something.
Hello, how are you all?
Hey, Yuri.
Hey,
Hello.
perfect. We're perfect now that you're here.
Thank you so much.
Well, thank you for coming. So, this session is more about you guys. So, I'm Carol Salva. I teach high school students who are new to the country, and I teach in Houston, Texas. And I have some students who were my students last year who were brand new to the United States just within the last couple of years. And last year they were in my newcomer class. And all three of these students, by the end of the year, were working in their classes at grade level and had a lot of English. And already toward the end of the year, were helping me reflect and tell the students for the coming year some advice. So that's kind of what we're going to do today is have you guys talk a little bit about what helped you. So we're going to go one by one. And then if you could tell a little bit, we'll start with Yuri. If you could tell your name and just a little bit about yourself, how long you've been here, and anything you want to share about your story that you think teachers of language learners, that it would be important for them to know. Welcome, Yuri.
Okay. Thank you. My name is Yuri Hernandez. I am from Mexico. I've been here in Houston, US, about 1 year and a half. And when I came here, I didn't know English. I couldn't speak English. I couldn't read in English. So it was a big, uh, it was something completely new for me. And I had classes like geometry and science and US history. Everything was new. So what helped me the most, I could say, was practice. We have something in my country. We say the practice will make the master. So the more you practice, the more you will be getting better. So if you practice every day, if you even you don't have to be reading all the day, but you can practice anywhere. You can practice with a friend. You can practice with the internet. You can watch a movie in English. You can do a lot of things without having to read. You can do things actually fun and having fun and learning English, different words and from different places. You can, and then you are going to see the difference when you practice, because I remember when I was in my country, our teacher used to tell us you have to practice, you have to do something, because uh, that won't come just for you. You have to practice and then you're going to be able to speak. But we really don't care until you have to do it, like me in this case. Then I start doing that, and I saw the difference. I saw the difference. I see the difference now. The classes, the ESL classes, were very helpful for me, because there is where I started speaking, because I was afraid, like a newcomer. I was afraid of people laughing at me because I made mistakes when I speak. But Miss Salva's class was really good for me, because I felt comfortable there. I could feel safe. I could feel the freedom of being speaking, and not afraid of, oh, these people is gonna laugh at me, or this partner. No, everybody was friendly. We were all close to each other, and we helped each other. If we saw somebody new, everybody was trying to be nice and help this new guy or this new girl to be better with English. So I can say that the best for me was practicing in English and a safe place like Miss Alva's class.
Thank you for saying that. Thank you for saying that our class was safe, because I know teachers out there that teach language learners, we make a big effort, whether y'all realize it or not. At the beginning of the year, we are working to where everybody can feel safe. Because when you don't feel safe, just like you just said, Yuri, when you don't feel safe, you're not going to take a risk. And if
Mhm.
you're not going to take a risk, you're not going to practice. So I think that is great advice for teachers out there, because we're really talking to teachers with this, right? We're talking
Mhm.
about what teachers can do in their classrooms. And a lot of times we know that, which teachers know that, but to hear it from a student is very important for me to remind myself next year when I set up my class, or even at this point of the the school. How are we doing it to where everybody feels safe, that they're not going to get laughed at, they're not going to, there's things that we can do for that. Before we move to Wendy and Ali, Yuri, I think it's real important for people to hear a little bit more about your background. So you came in October of last year.
Mhm.
And you weren't speaking English in October. You came late in the school year, and maybe you always say that you spoke like, "Hello, how are you?"
Good morning.
That was about it, because I would try to talk to you and you're the teacher would try to talk to you and you didn't have the listening comprehension very much. But by the end of that exact same school year, so, in a minute, we're going to talk about what you think helped you most. But I want people to understand that you came in October and you said that you were sitting in science and social studies in different classes and you understood nothing of what was being said when they were just talking normally. But by the end of the school year, you reached advanced high in reading, which is the highest near native reading. You skipped 4 years levels in terms of language acquisition for reading in our state assessments in Texas. And then tell me which assessments you passed that same year, which state assessments?
I passed US history. I passed English 1. I passed biology. And I took English 2, but I failed. Now this year I took it and I passed it too.
Awesome. Awesome. I remember that we talk about it all the time, is that we don't have to be 100% successful in everything. We have to just keep moving forward because there will be another opportunity. And then how many days away are we from graduation now?
I don't know, about 20, 22, I guess. The 26th is the graduation.
Are y'all so excited?
Yes.
I'm so excited for you. I'm so excited for you. So that's fantastic. Yeah, bravo, because you worked very, very hard, and we'll talk about what helped you reach those goals. So thank you, Yuri. You've passed everything you need for graduation. And you're on your way. Yeah. And
Thank
Wendy,
you so much.
oh my gosh, thank you because you made our class that much richer. You brought so much. We'll talk about everybody's different stories, but Yuri, when you come, you were 19 when you came, right?
Yes. Mhm.
And so when you come as a 19-year-old into high school and you don't have the language, sometimes it's suggested that you might try the junior college, or you might be better off with a program outside of public high school. But I don't agree. I think we can keep you as long as we can keep you. And even if you didn't get all the way to graduation, then you can go to that program and we've taught all this English, right?
Yeah.
And I think you're a perfect example of that because you made our class so rich with your perspective and everything you brought, just like all your friends. So I'm super grateful.
Thank you.
So Wendy, can you tell us a little bit about Wendy, please?
Well, I am from Venezuela. I came here in 2015, so I have 2 years and 4 months so far. In my country, I learned some basic English, so when I came here, it was a little bit easier for me because I could understand some words, but I didn't understand when people were speaking to me, or I couldn't talk at all. So it was hard, but with time, I started to understand the words, but I still needed to talk. When I was in my ESL class, some things that helped me to improve this were our classes. In classes, we did several things. We were doing always different things like talking to each other or reading or speaking. So there was a lot of interaction, and that helped me to learn some vocabulary and to use it in the classroom and also outside of the classroom when I had my time to practice or to work in my other classes. Um, it is very important even today to still, as Yuri says, practicing, because you are always, as a newcomer or as an English learner, you are always learning something new. So something that we were told was to read, because the more you read, the better reader you become, right? So read a lot. Practice the words and talk to our partners in class, and keep moving forward, um, and not giving up. Yeah.
So Wendy, you wrote a beautiful piece about being a newcomer, and I have it on my blog, and Larry Ferlazzo published it in Education Week. It was lengthy, and it was only, I think you'd been in the country maybe a year and a half when you wrote that at the end of the school year last year. And I just want to say thank you again, because many, not just students, but many, I mean, not just teachers, but many students have read that. Blanca Huertas, who is a teacher who, I think I showed you her text when we were at a conference one time. Her students were so moved by it that they want to write their own stories, and they're dying to connect with you. So let's not let the year get away without doing some kind of after school opportunity where you can Skype with her students, because they felt very validated by what you said about what it feels like to come in and how scared you are at a new place, but then you find yourself in the ESL classroom and it's a welcoming place, and you feel like your family is there, and it was a very powerful piece that you wrote. So we thank you for that.
Thank you. Yes, I think it's also very important. Like when we are in our class, I told you this before, I know, but like not underestimate your students, because of like what they can do or what they cannot. Like just try to give them the opportunity to try, because when there's like a new student, you don't really know what happened, right? What happened before. Sometimes they miss time, sometimes they know a little, or maybe they do not, but just like to try to give the opportunity for them to try new things, and to provide like materials also, and not like being too methodic, like, oh, this is the verb, this is the noun, because when we do that, it does not stick in your mind, like you forget about it. Yeah.
Right. And we talk about that. Language teachers, there's lots of language teachers here on the chat saying hello to you guys. So I want to make sure and shout out Blanca Huertas, Miss Huertas from Dickinson. She's watching and she says, hi, Wendy. And so there's Rola Tibshirani from Ottawa, Canada, who drove me around Ottawa yesterday and had lunch with me. Oh, her class was the one that sent us the letters right after the hurricane.
Okay.
I don't know if you, yeah, so powerful, right? So we appreciate her. And Dora, Wendy, you and I were watching Miss Dora's session earlier today, and there's just, Miss Said, and they're saying that it's just really wonderful to hear student voice, to hear the students themselves saying that. So it is, we do appreciate you guys, but I just wanted to acknowledge the teachers. And that's the thing, is that we know as language acquisition teachers that learning about a language, the verb, the noun, that is learning that all students need, but that is not how you acquire your second language. That's the slowest way, in fact. That's learning about a language. Acquiring a language, getting the listening, the speaking, and even the reading and the writing is a byproduct of listening, speaking, reading, and writing authentically. Then that happens when you are very engaged and it's low stress. And so I think you guys are great examples of what can happen when you believe how fast you can go and then you engage in more of it. You said something really interesting, Wendy, about missing school, but I think what you were saying was even students who have missed some school can still do hard work. Don't give us the method, the lower babyish type stuff.
Yeah, like they are not something apart. They can also do it, right? Like everybody can do it. Yeah.
Everybody can do it. Do you want to speak to that, Ali? Because you're so inspiring, where you tell your story, kind of like Miss Salva has a story that I think people, I used to not want to tell, but now I think it's important to tell for other people who have my same story, that you can do it, even if you're going through hard things. So will you tell us a little bit about you, Ali? And thank you, Wendy.
Yeah, sure. So my name is Ali. I'm from Syria, and I'm 16 years old. I'm 17 years old. So when I first came here, I spoke non-English, like nothing, not even saying my name. So that's because I missed like 5 years of school, almost 5 years of school, 4 years and 8 months, so almost 5 years. And I learned, like, I was working all the time in Jordan, and like I didn't have time to go to school. And also, if I went to school, that's like some reasons like I'm not acceptable there. So I had to study on my own. So I studied math and science, which is the two, like, my two favorite things. Like I like to learn about it a lot, and also to get more knowledge, because like if I didn't do that, I'm not gonna get like smarter, and like if I don't work hard, I'm not gonna like become like what I want in my life. So I was studying on my own, and whoever says that if you miss like a time of school, like you didn't go to school, like a time, I missed 5 years of school, so that's nothing. And I speak a good English right now, and that's because of working hard and some helpful things that like I really liked, making friends, and tell them, like, in my sales class, like I was with a girl. She didn't speak my language. She spoke Spanish, and I spoke Arabic, and we both have to speak English so we can learn, because like she doesn't speak my language and I don't speak her language, so we have to use English. So we started like finding words, more vocabularies. We started like making sentences in English, so we can use together, and that's went like for the whole year, and that's like helped me a lot with that. Also, I have a friend of mine, like his name is Mohamed. He speaks my language and he speaks English, like a very good English. So he writes me every day 5 to 10 words, and he tell me like made sentences, and just like use them with me. And of course, like he's my friend. He's not gonna laugh about my language or my accent if I'm saying it wrong or right. He's my friend, so he's gonna help me, and that's a very helpful way. Also, reading, it's a very helpful way like to learn English. There's a lot of ways, guys, like you can do that helps you reading, or helps like your English more and more. Like you can learn a lot of things. So yeah.
You know what I heard that I just made my heart almost bust? An overriding message of what you say are things that we don't really see in a grammar book or an English. Now they're creating more resources that have teachers thinking about how the student feels, not just the English versus the Arabic, and how you teach someone these words may mean these words. Like you were saying, it's not about the verbs and the nouns. It's, do I feel comfortable? And Evelyn and you are two people sitting next to each other, and it's not scary to talk to one person next to you. And you all said something like that, like, when do I feel comfortable taking risks? So the classroom felt that way, but the person that you're working with, you have to, I'm not calling on you to answer in front of the class when you're not comfortable. We had a lot of opportunities, I think, for you to practice in a low stress environment. And even Mohanan gave you that. I met him before you ever came to my class, and I thought it was so great that somebody who spoke your language, who had been here a little bit longer than you had, was telling you, hey, we can work on this. We can work on this outside of class. Let's just work on vocabulary. I think that we can't underestimate what our friends do for us, our friends in class, our friends outside of class, when they make us feel like we can do it. I think all three of you, and many kids in our class, are a good example of when you feel like you can do it, you can do it. And so would y'all talk about what are some of the things at the beginning of the school year that made you feel like you could do hard things. Like you came in already strong strong people. You'd already gone through hard things. I think we had some discussions about stuff that when we saw that video of Hersan. And now people are watching videos of y'all. But did that affect you? What was it about what we did? What did your other teachers too? Because we have a very inclusive place at Stratford that made you feel like, you know what, this is hard, but I can do this.
Can I talk about it?
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, so you know that like I already mentioned that when I first I didn't speak English, but in my math class, there's I don't know sign, which is there's nothing such as like I don't know. We can't use that in Miss Evans' classes. So I don't really like. Can I have some time to think? Can I do that? Like, may I ask a friend for help? So that's also like that's a good thing. And because of that, I asked friends in there, hey, can you help me with this? What does this mean? Because I already like know some math, but I need like the English so I can do it. So I learned like some basic English to like math doesn't need like you don't have to like to be perfect in English to learn math.
Thank you.
Yep.
I know it's so hard.
Yeah.
Math was so hard for me. So I can't imagine trying to learn the math in German, when I'm not good at, math isn't my strong suit. But I think you're right, Ali. I mean, I know you are. The research shows that kids can learn the content, math, science, whatever, at the same time that they're learning the target language. And the things that the teachers do in those classes are what make that possible or make it more difficult. And that I don't know poster is a sheltered strategy that is we call them sheltered strategies, like when you get shelter out of the rain and somebody's going to help you get through this and make it possible. So these are strategies that teachers can use. And that is a big one, is that anybody in your class should be able to feel successful and be able to be called on. But if they don't know the answer for whatever reason, there's some things that they can say instead. I love that.
And also I passed the Algebra 1 EOC test and I had no English. So it was my first year. So I still can pass classes with no English. So I just had to work a little bit harder and yeah.
You should be pretty proud, Ali.
Yeah, of course I am.
You should be. And you're not the only student in our class that missed many years of education.
There
We
were
talked.
a lot of students in my class that didn't go to school back home and they still can do like good stuff.
And they know things that the four of us don't know. So why wouldn't we learn from them? And we'll teach you the math and we'll teach you to read and we'll teach you English. But I want to know what it was like to see an active volcano, because they know things that we don't know. And I think that's fantastic. I think Bukuru was a great example last year. Her first year, she had been in a refugee camp in Africa almost her whole life. So she didn't have the formal kind of schooling. And her first year was not a very successful year in high school. And her second year is when we met her. She was in our class, right, Wendy?
Yeah, she was.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And her second year she really blossomed and really became more outspoken. Of course, she knew more English. She knew more math. They had helped her with foundations of math, and she's got Khan Academy, and she's reading, and she's relentless, and she believes she can. In the second year, she passed the algebra exam. And I mean, we have kids born here that are still not passing the algebra exam. So I think you guys, your group, your cohort, is turning the kind of things that we assume kind of upside down and just pretty much saying, look, we can do it. Help us do it. There's nothing wrong with us. We just need the language, and some of us need some literacy, and there's some things you can do that can help us with that. So, Yuri, you very quickly had to be out in mainstream classes. What were the kind of things that teachers did when it did help you understand, if they're teaching science and you don't speak her language or his language and nobody around you can help you tell us what teachers could do in a science, straight up, not sheltered class with a student who's brand new to English.
Okay. What I can say, they may do it. Is I remember my first year was really hard for me because in this example in science class, my first semester I had, instead of science class, I had study hall, and then in my second semester I was hoping the same classes. But no, instead of study hall I got science class, biology, and this was hard for me because I
They
didn't
didn't give
know.
it to you the first semester. You were coming in the middle.
No, yeah. So it was confusing for me. It was hard for me. I really thought for a moment I was going to fail this class. It was so hard, and the teacher just was speaking so fast. It was like really fast, and I understand that because everybody else was, I don't know, American speakers, so they English speakers, they could speak English, and she couldn't maybe stop for me. But I understand that, and I thought about what I told you before, Miss Alba, that when I came home, I had to find the topic that we saw in the class and I understand the topic in Spanish, and then I redo it in English. So I was learning the vocabulary. I was learning everything because in biology everything for me was new. Everything. It's not like in geography, for example. The world is the world, the same world here in Mexico. This U.S. is the U.S. here, and in Mexico it's the same thing. But biology is completely different. The world, everything is completely different, and it's harder here than Mexico. So what I can say that they can do is help their students with visuals, maybe with a picture, maybe with I don't know, with things in the papers, not only words. With for example, for us, we we are like a babies. So the most we see, the most we understand. So if we don't see a picture, if we don't see anything, if we only see words, it's gonna be harder for us to understand. So if the teachers may say, for example, this is, I don't know, this is the DNA, and she shows a picture of how it looks like or something, we can have an idea. Oh, okay, that is DNA, or in geometry. If she tell you this is the homework, then you know that you have to do this next day. But my first days, I didn't know what was the homework. I just remember that she came the next day. Where's the homework? I didn't even know that we had homework. So
Oh,
my grades were horrible in geometry because of my homework. But what was good for me is that I was doing good work in my tests. So then, after the months came, I started understanding more English, and then I saw, oh, this is the homework. Now I know what is the homework. Now I know that these papers are the homework. So I started doing that, and I started getting better. So maybe just they can think like they can see us as a baby. If you tell me this is the homework, and then the next day you ask me where is the homework, I'm going to understand. Okay, this was the homework and I didn't do it, so I have to do it next day because now I know that she's gonna ask me for it the next day. So visuals, everything that we can see is gonna help us. That helped
so
me.
and I that seems foundational to use visuals, but a lot of teachers, we beg teachers to let students use a bilingual dictionary, and I think you guys need to have the bilingual dictionary at your fingertips, especially the paper one if you're going to be expected to only use the paper one later. But I heard you say one time on one of the videos you did for me, if you just point to the picture, I don't need that dictionary so much.
Hmm. Yeah, because if you, I don't know, if we are new and you tell me go to your seat, I'm not gonna know what is that. But if you point go to your seat, maybe
Point
I
to the
didn't
seat.
know what you say. What you said, where I saw your finger, and then I'm gonna go there. Then I can do what you are, I don't know, what you are showing me to do. So
Exactly.
that's really helpful.
Fantastic. Fantastic. Because those are things that we can do tomorrow. Teachers don't need to go and buy materials and stuff just to be pointing to what we did on the anchor chart the other day, or pick up a piece of paper when you say, take out your paper, or, whatever those things are. Even after students have the language, I do trainings with teachers all the time. And when I show them on the board, I'm going to ask you to get up and go find somebody and give them a high five. And there's a picture of that. They appreciate that visual, because we are all visual learners. So I think that's very important, because we just need to remind ourselves. It's not that we don't want to use visuals with you guys. I think it's just easy to forget that you need them. You desperately need them.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Thank you for that. Wendy and Ali, we've been talking over you guys for a little bit. Is there anything that, Wendy, you're graduating in a couple of weeks as well, right?
Yeah.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
I bet you're excited.
Yeah, very excited.
Okay, that's fantastic. Did you want to talk about anything else? I like what you had said before about the level of the work that a student should be able to do. What do you think about a brand newcomer, though, that comes who doesn't have any ability to speak, or doesn't feel comfortable trying even to speak? Would that student also be able to do things that the other students can do at grade level?
Yeah, of course with time, but I think he or she can be able to do it with practice. Because as Yuri says, for a brand newcomer, something that really helps is like gestures, pictures, because even when you do not know the words and you cannot read them or you cannot speak them, if you see the gestures or how, like, to point to something, you can start to understand, and you can later like remember that words and practice, and then you can maybe later understand them when you read them. Also, when you slow down when you are talking, because when you come here, you don't really understand a lot because you hear like random things, but when you slow down you can hear better, and you can catch with time more words, like repeating, like talking slowly, and using gestures and pictures helps a lot when you are brand new to the country and you don't know English. Yeah.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think what's important to remember is that not only will that student gain the English in that science or math classroom, but even before they have any English, they can do the math, and they're smart enough to understand the science. You might just need to give it to them in Arabic to let them work at the same level as everybody else, but then help them learn the English, and their ESL class should be helping them learn the English. I think every class having a little goal for English, like we're all going to say the difference between, a democracy and a republic is blank. We can have that as a goal, but let them speak in their native language and use whatever they need to learn about democracy and republics. I think there's two different things we need to keep in mind. So we cut our teachers. Hopefully you give us grace, because we are trying our best, and it is difficult to keep in mind, am I supposed to be teaching them English, or am I supposed to be teaching them science? And really, the science teacher should be teaching you science, but in a way that will help you understand the science and help you a little bit to produce the English each day as well before you leave. But the biggest thing, and I bet you would agree, is that your science teacher teach you all the science you need to be successful.
Yeah.
And that's possible. That's possible. I mean, Ali, do you want to talk a little bit about your language arts class, which is not an ESL class at all this year? You guys were just reading Macbeth, right?
We were reading The Great Gatsby.
Oh, I'm
and-
sorry. That's right. That's right. The Great Gatsby. And well, just the same thing. It's a class that is not an ESL class.
No, it's not an ES class. It's
It's a grade level.
It's a grade level class.
Right. And it's English 3. Is that
Yeah,
right?
it's English 3.
So that's for juniors. And everybody in there was reading The Great Gatsby.
Yeah.
And we thought we were going to have an issue at first. It was, the vocabulary in it, the setting and the time period is bizarre because it's, it's historical. The way they speak in a lot of the literature that we use in English is not how we speak now anyway in English. Talk to us about that and what you did and different things that you used to try to be successful in that class. And I know your teacher helped you because she came down. I want to just give props to all the regular English teachers out there that show up and science teachers that show up in our classroom saying, I want to help Ali. What can I do? And she did that, but you did a lot for yourself. Talk to us about that.
So yeah, like you said, she helped me a lot. She asked me what could help me first, what do I like to do to help me better. And what I did to myself, I started searching Google about the Great Gatsby story in Arabic and in English. I started searching about the summary in English also, so I can get the meaning of the book, or get to understand better about the book, because I understood nothing basically because it has a really hard English.
Mm-hmm.
I wasn't able to understand everything. I understand something, but not everything. But for the test, I need to know everything so I can pass the test or quizzes or anything. So I found the Great Gatsby book in Arabic, and also I found I had already one in English. So I read it in Arabic and I go back to English and read it in English, so I can understand in Arabic and go back to English and know the words that I didn't know, so I can learn more words and understand the book more in English. So yeah, that's what I did basically.
And you did it.
Yeah, I did it.
I mean, I think that's such an important point, is that first of all, props to your teacher, because she caught me in the break room. And a lot of times when we're teaching regular mainstream and we have one student who's new to English, we are worried that we're not doing enough for that student. So she was a teacher who took over a class in the middle of the year. So she was kind of new to all of you guys here in the second semester. And then she still went out of her way to come and say, I know he's smart. I know he can do this. What can I do? Am I doing everything that I can do? And that's the thing, is that teachers, man, if you care about the kids, you're going to be fine, because you will always go and try to find solutions to help that student. And if the student feels like they can be successful, then we'll all be moving in the right direction. So one of the things, she was just asking me, would it be okay for him to watch the movie? Would it be okay for him to see it in his language ahead of time? And all of those things are completely supportive and completely okay. Because when you think about it, she and I had this discussion and we both felt, well, I mean, this just makes sense. What's she trying to teach you, Ali? What was it about The Great Gatsby that you guys needed to learn? Was it things like the characters? Was it things like the setting? Things that the author did? Does that all sound right?
Yeah.
So what does it matter that you read part of it in Arabic or watched a movie to get the idea and got some translation? You still learned about characterization. You learned about setting. You learned about the author's purpose. You learned about things he used to make us feel a certain way. In English 3, there are things that you have to learn. And it doesn't matter how we get you into the story and have you understand the story. We're looking at our standards, and Ali is able to hit all of those learning goals.
Yeah. I mean, my teacher tried her best to give me things that helps me, and she did, and I'm grateful for that.
We're grateful for you, man. we're so grateful for her. Of course, she's fantastic, and all of our teachers are fantastic, all of them. But I really was touched that she was so new, and I feel like you could feel drowning but she wanted to make sure that all of her students had the opportunity to be successful. And so there's somebody in the building that knows more about ESL, she felt like, so she came. And then when we talked about it, I'm like, you're doing great. You know, she didn't give, I think that she was doing a lot, and you guys together, you and she were doing a lot, and you were able to be successful in that. And I was just there to just say, yeah, I agree. You're doing great. Yeah, you can do all of this. So I think that's fantastic. I think it's important to allow students to use their native language and to support their native language and celebrate it. But before you leave any class, there should be a language goal in that class where everybody has an opportunity to write or read in English or speak in English. Even the kids who were born here need opportunities to practice that academic language, and then we move everybody's English, because we have you guys a lot of your day in many days. So what else? We're kind of coming up on time. This was supposed to be like a 15-minute, well, the other ones, I think the panel sessions can go the whole hour, but I'm looking to see if there's any questions. There are people, again, Miss Said, Sarah Said, she's up in Chicago, and I'm going to get to meet her. They're all saying, I love this. He found The Great Gatsby in Arabic. That's fantastic. She says, Mumtaz? What does Mumtaz mean?
That's mean excellent.
So Sarah Miss Said
Thank you.
Yeah, she's saying that's fantastic that you found it in Arabic, and that native language is really important. Miss Shori, who's from Tennessee, is saying that you found the movie too. These are things that we do for students who don't speak another language. We show the movie, we let them see it.
I've watched the movie.
Yeah, those are things, or a graphic novel that has the pictures with speech bubbles and things like that. Those help all students to talk about it, to read a little bit and talk more about it, or to have the teacher read it out loud. So I think you guys can do everything. I mean, you're obviously you're proving that. Ali, your older brother, who was supposed to be here today, Mohammed, also started the exact same time that you started. And Mohammed was going to join us, but Mohammed had some people coming to your house to help him with a paid internship that he's getting, because he's graduating in a couple of weeks.
Yeah.
Also, I mean, you guys are just blowing our minds, obviously. So we appreciate you stepping in for him, because we fully expect to come to your graduation next year, of course.
Yep.
No question. And so, yeah, I just wanted to say Miss Deborah and Miss Saud, all of them, she says, you're welcome, Ali. I'm just watching the chat. Miss Huertas is talking about how you guys are helping us learn about building the background knowledge so that you can make better connections. All kids have issues with The Great Gatsby. It's a difficult text, but we have to help all kids make connections. And then you're showing that it doesn't matter what language you speak, you can make connections to literature and the goals that we need to. So that's just amazing. And somebody named Nikki Dunlap, who I follow on Twitter, she wrote here that she loves the point about what instruction could look like outside the ESL classroom. If the science teacher teaches everything, science teacher needs to teach everything you need to be successful about science. And we have like a little bit of a debate out there in education that what's more important for Ali in the science classroom? Should I be trying to teach him science language because he doesn't have the science language? Or should I be teaching him the science? And of course we have to do both. But if I'm the science teacher, which is my main goal? Is my main goal to teach you science and then use some language? Or is my main goal to teach you language and get you as much science as I can?
I prefer science.
I agree. It's very, very hard for a teacher, though, when you don't speak my language. It feels like I need to teach you the language of science, because you're going to go to 10th grade next year, or you're going to go to 12th grade next year, the next science. And if I didn't give you all the science vocabulary, you won't be successful in that class. Does that mean? Sorry. But I argue that, and I feel like you need to learn the science concepts because your English is getting better every day. Your English is getting better every day because you're in many classes. that are helping your English get better every day. And so my big thing as a science teacher has to be as much science into you as possible. And every day I'll help you write a little science or write a little English or speak a little English. We have to do English for you in science class. But my main focus, no one else in the building is going to teach you the science. So that has to be the goal, so that when you go to your next science class, you have enough science in you. And again, your English will be coming along every day. You can always look up those words. You can always get the vocabulary. What do you think, Wendy, Yuri? Do you agree that, the content, the math, the social studies, the science, when you're outside of the ESL classroom, has to be the big goal? What do you feel?
I think it's like that. As long as you can understand what it is about and you feel like you can do it, even if you don't understand some little things, but you understand the main thing, like the most important thing, you should be fine, right? Like some words should not be obstacles for students to keep learning the subject. For instance, I think it's very important how in ESL classes it's not only about learning in a book and just like that's it and closed. No, because we have learned many different things like about Texas history or geography or the US map or um, biodiversity or different things, and using the English that we are acquiring with time. And it's like simultaneously. So we can learn English and we can also learn other things at the same time. And I think that was when I came here, that was very important to me because I didn't expect it. I didn't know what will happen. I was happy to be learning, but when I started to learn things that I didn't know about the new place for me, like the US, I think that was very, very meaningful.
I think that's fantastic. And I think what ESL teachers can do to support what you guys are saying is use science. And, Deb, our friend, Miss DeBoer from that you and I were watching earlier, Wendy, she's writing in here that you can leverage the science. I can use the science as the ESL teacher to teach you the language, because my goal has to be language. The science teacher's goal has to be science. But I can use her science to teach you language.
I agree
And
with
she,
that.
it's just the flip. It's just the flip. So what I agree too, Ellie, like what Wendy's saying is we learned a lot of things. Our projects, I tried to connect to what you were learning in science. Like let's go see what archaeologists use, because they use GPS, they use magnetometers, they use what's the math that they were the Pythagorean theorem. You were in your ESL class working with an archaeologist just to dig like a very rectangular unit to plot it out. You would need to know that math, but that's not my goal to teach you the math, but how much language, because we used the math and it was in context. It's very subtle, but my goal for that whole unit and for that whole experience was how much language you could get and produce and connect to your content classes. Even when we did the Texas history, it was more about how that fits in with US history and with world history and with current events and wars going on back in your country. And, there's connections for all of that, but it's about language and for us. So I love that you guys feel that it was worthwhile, because it's the best job I've ever had in my whole life, ever, ever, ever. Yeah.
I remember last year that you made a connection with my English teacher, and she taught us about a letter from the First Lady, and then we discussed it in ESL class. Like
Miss McHale, is it Miss McHale?
McHale?
Yeah.
So we also read it in ESL class together. We discussed it and we wrote about it. We shared, we talked to each other. And I think it was a good connection, like with the English 3 class and with the NEL class. It was Good.
I'm very grateful to Charlotte McHale. She is a grade level English language arts teacher, and we were sitting by the copier, and she showed me Michelle Obama's farewell speech. And it was long. It was 2 pages long, but it was super inspiring. And I love that teacher. So we were talking about it, and she says, I chunk it for my class. I talk about it. And she said, do you want a copy of it? And if you go to my Twitter, it's pinned to the very top. Anybody who goes to my Twitter account, the very first post is what we did there, where, because you guys really responded, and it really struck me that we were doing exactly what English 3 is doing. They had to come up with a thesis for every single paragraph. And so we just chunked it. We just read it aloud. We let you talk in your native language. And what do we think she's saying in this paragraph? We think Michelle Obama is trying to tell us what? And then you guys all talked about it. And it was so meaningful because we were changing administrations at the time. And we were, some of us were sad to see the Obamas go. And she's a very inspiring person for people of different cultures. And so it had a bunch of meanings for us. But you guys proved that day that you could do thesis just like anybody else. Of course we can. So I'm very appreciative to Charlotte McHale. And I love that you remember that, Wendy, as something that was helpful to you with something going on in your grade level classes.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Charlotte McHale, too. Amazing teachers that I get to work with. Yuri, we haven't heard from you in a little bit. And
Yeah.
I know we're wrapping up on time. So if you want to close out with anything, everybody knows who you are, first of all, because you're all over my website with all your great videos. So thank you for helping me make all those videos. And your girlfriend's there. Do we want us to say hi to her?
Yeah, you can.
Say hi.
She was very helpful to me too.
Hi.
Something.
I think we can't underestimate how much the support people we have in our lives are. And Yuri is here without his mom and dad or without any family. And so the fact that he has you, and I know how supportive you've been over a year, I think we need to remember that with all of our students, that everybody in their lives are going to want to see them successful. So everybody can have some kind of support. So we want to say thank you to you too.
Thank you.
I just want to honor her.
I would like to say something really, really fast, like you said. I was thinking while you all were talking, and I think that something that I found here that helped me just to keep moving forward was hope. Why hope? Because if you don't have hope, you don't have anything, because you won't want to do anything. You won't want to be better. You won't want to be a good student because you just don't care. When I was in middle school, and now I don't know. It's just funny to me when you say that you are funny. You are grateful to have me in your class, and I just thought, I'm sure that my middle school teachers were not happy to have me in the class because I was a student that was skipping every class. I was failing about 5 of my 7 classes I had.
No way.
I was a bad student. I promise. I was a bad student. It took me 1 year after I finished my middle school to get my diploma because I just didn't pass mathematical. It was crazy. My middle school was crazy. But then I started changing. So why I say this? Because if you have a student that is like I was, just have a little bit of faith on them because I changed, they can change too. And the most of the time is because we don't think that we can do it. I remember I didn't care about maths because I just thought I cannot do that. It's too hard. I didn't even try it. It's too hard. I won't try it. It's too hard. But when I came here and I saw every teacher speaking to me, knowing that I don't know what you're saying, but you're speaking like if you hope that I won't understand. It was just helping me to think that one day I will going to be able to understand. So every hope that you can give us is gonna be very helpful. I promise.
Thank you, Yuri. You said some really nice things last year to Mr. Knappich and to Miss Hammond about how you wish that you had teachers like them back in Mexico, and it meant a lot to us. You know, and I'm sure you had good teachers back then, but if you don't feel like you can do it, then the teachers don't think you want to do it, and it's this whole thing. And so thank you for being kind about us, because we were thrilled we were honored to teach all of you. All of us, and we talk about it all the time, that it's our great honor to have you guys in class. So I guess we'll sign off now. Thank you, Yuri. That was very, very important to hear, and we appreciate that. Anybody else want to say anything else, or are we about out of time?
Can I say something?
Yes, you can.
All right, I'm gonna make it quick. So, to all the teachers who's gonna watch this, students, newcomers have fear, and that's never gonna break if you guys don't help them. So you gotta ask them what they would like to do, or what they like to do, to help them learning more, or what they already know before they came here, and the language stops them, because language never gonna stop you doing anything. So just ask them questions, ask them what they like to do, ask them what they can do, what's their talents, because I'm very sure every single person in this world has their own talent and their own things they can be very good at. Just that's the thing that I want to mention.
I just think that's very profound, Ali. Thank you for saying that, because that's at the heart of why we all became teachers. And I don't want to get into a whole discussion, because we're signing off. About there's a lot of teachers who are from a very good place in their heart. They might not give a student some harder things because the kid went through something hard. A lot of our newcomers are coming to us from very tragic things. Ali, you and your family went through some all three of you guys went through extremely hard things that we wouldn't wish on anybody before you came here. And that is, I think we talked about last week at a conference where I was, about making sure that students feel safe to come to you if they need extra help with how they feel or how they're working through their emotions, but to not give them the same level opportunities and work, that would be a mistake. We have to understand if kids aren't ready, if they're saying, I'm not ready, but when we help kids in a way that helps them feel successful, that might be exactly what they want. So I think we just need to get to know our students, give them hope, and then exactly what you're saying, Ali, understand that they can all do it. And they're going to have that fear, and you can help them get through that fear. So you guys are all rock stars. I'm incredibly crazy excited to be your teacher. We're all going to go get some pizza now, because I don't know if our audience knows, but we're all sitting in different rooms of the same house. So we're going to sign off. Thank you again. I appreciate all three of you guys, and I appreciate everybody who was listening today.
Thank you so
Thank you,
much.
Masala. Bye.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Bye.
Congratulations, graduates. Okay, we'll talk to you soon. Bye.